Hello. This might be a crude presentation given the circumstances, but hear me out. Today, I'd like to share a paradigm shifting perspective on the issues of gender violence, sexual assault, domestic violence, or whatever. They've been seen as women's issues, but I have a problem with that. I don't see these as just women's issues, but I believe the root cause to really be men. And as a man, I find that a lot of the issues are just, uh, I'm a guy. These issues are for women. That's for the girls, and they don't listen to the rest of the story. Only the headline, the first sentence. They don't think it matters to them. Some people think of gender issues as just women's issues, or sexual orientation as gay, lesbian, bisexual. This kind of labeling is one of the ways that dominant systems maintain themselves. And this will become clearer later. So let's move on a little bit. Some things are just ingrained in our society. And one of these I found interesting was from the feminist activist Julia Penelope, who said that the English language prefers masculinity. And I'll tell you what she meant. In her example, it starts with a simple sentence: John beat Mary. But we can shift the grammar into a passive voice. Mary was beaten by John. And furthermore, Mary is beaten, or Mary was battered, or Mary was a battered woman. Do you see where this led? The one doing the action, beating, was completely erased from the equation. And these are still valid sentences, mind you. And for some people, they don't see the problem. An educator of anti-sexism named Jackson Katz, and you can Google this later, said something that went like this: it really goes to show how ingrained this is in our society. And commonly, you'll find that it's the victim that's always being blamed. Why do they go out with these men? Why are they attracted to them? Why do they keep going back? What was she wearing at the party? What a stupid thing to do. Why was she drinking with those guys at the hotel room? To change this, we really need to ask a different set of questions. Why does John beat Mary? Why is domestic violence still a big problem all over the world? What's going on? And why do so many men abuse physically, emotionally, verbally, and other ways, the women and the girls and even their fellow men and boys that they claim to love? What's going on with men? We always hear in popular media and news stories where children are victimized by men, and not just girls, children in general. Some things like abuse in Catholic churches and whatnot. Oftentimes today we hear of women trying to stand up for themselves, and some people would even call them names like man hater or feminazi or whatnot. It's a statement for them to sit down and suck it up because the people in power want to stay in power. When women challenge the ones in power, they should be afraid. And good thing we live in such a society where women can express themselves freely. One of the most powerful things that we men can say that can help change the status quo is, saying things that women can't be heard saying. Men have the power to lift women and others up. And, this is a little bit sexist, but it's the truth in our society, and we have to live with it until the time comes that equality is finally achieved. Like I said, sometimes the ones that speak out against these gender issues often are labeled anti men or whatever. But have they stopped to think that men can be victims too? The same system that produces men who abuse women also abuse men, children even. Both sexes and all other genders are victims of men's violence. But now, what do we do? How do we speak up and end this? Now, when it comes to male culture, the best way of dealing with this is to have men challenge other men who are abusive. Stop it at the root before becomes anything worse than just an occasional fight, or sometimes you know your friend's girlfriend gets beaten or whatever. We have to be sensitive to the things happening around us so we can stop them from happening again. Martin Luther King once said, "In the end, what will hurt most is not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And this is the silence that we have to break. And one of the ways is to say it. It's that there's an awful lot of men who care about these issues, and if more men knew about these issues, more and more will be educated about them. I hope that going forward, men and women working together can begin the change and transformation that will happen so that future generations won't have the level of tragedy that we deal with on a daily basis. And I know we can do it and we can do better. Thank you for listening.